It's time for the Unexplained News. Extraterrestrials, time anomalies, dimensions, remote viewing, UFOs, UAPs, and USOs, ghostly encounters, abductions, Bigfoot, and more. Your end of the week news source for everything unexplained. Here is your host for the Unexplained News podcast, Margie K.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Unexplained News. I'm your host, Margie K. And tonight we have a little bit different show for you. We're going to be taking your comments and your stories because we're talking about unexplained phenomena, weird stories. I want to hear it all. And I have a few stories to share with you as well in the latest news that I've been able to peruse on the internet. Some really bizarre things are going on. And, you know, if you look for the strange and bizarre, you will find it definitely on the internet. There's a lot of chat groups and a lot of forums and things like that. So there's a lot out there. And I see we've already got a few comments. Yes, Fred Zooey from Nebraska. This is going to be fun this weekend. And for sure, also, the MUFON Symposium is going on. Thank you for reminding me about that. I am so sorry I had to miss it. I had to stay in town because my husband was having some procedures done and was unable to go to that. But we are represented. So if you do happen to be at the symposium, be sure to stop by the Unex Network booth. And that is manned by our own Maureen Richmond. She has the Star Speaks show right here on the X. And she's also our new advertising sales rep for the X. And she'll be there. Also, Mindy Toutfest will be at that same table. We published her book. The latest book is Dying to Meet Them. And so Mindy is there signing books as well. It's a good place to go. All right. So I'm going to get into some of the strange things happening and also, some events that are coming up. In the meantime, if you have a story to share, go ahead and drop that in to the chat and I will read your story. I also have some that came in by email today. So, of course, XCon is coming up in October 30th to November the 1st, right over Halloween. So I invite you to come share our second anniversary with us here at the X in Springfield, Missouri at the beautiful Oasis Hotel and Conference Center. And we have got an unbelievable lineup for you. Look at all these speakers that we've got. Of course, Scott Walter is our keynote, and he's going to be talking about the Knights Templar and the alien connection. Yeah, I bet you didn't know that Scott had discovered this because he's been a straight nuts and bolts guy all along. If you watch his show, you would know that, America Unearthed. And so anyway, that's going to be very, very interesting. And we've got all these great speakers here talking about everything from Sasquatch to Mothman to haunted sites, demonology, and we're showing the film A Haunting in Blue Hill. So that is not to be missed. And of course, UFOs and ETs. And then we have Maureen going to be talking about astrology and the paranormal. So we've got a great thing going for you. Check Facebook tomorrow, because on our Unex Network Facebook page, there's going to be a BOGO special for tickets to the conference. So don't miss that. You're going to want to see that. And it is a really super good deal. Also in October is the Arkansas Paranormal Expo in Little Rock, Arkansas. You don't want to miss that one. Take a look at our website at unexnetwork.com to see a complete conference listing. And if you're having a conference, be sure you send us that info and we'll get it on that page. Here's a picture of Mindy Toutfest's book that we just published, Dying to Meet Them. And boy, it is about her NDE experience and how that related to UAPs. Fascinating read. Our latest issues of the magazine are out and ready. And if you are an Unex subscriber, you can get a free subscription at unexnetwork.com. You will have already received this digital format in your email inbox. So, all righty, here we go. Yeah, okay. We have a question. What is the meaning of life? This is from B. Okay. You know what? I wish I had a good answer for that. Everybody has a lot of opinions about something like that. And I'll tell you what I think, because in my 66 years, I've come up with, right now, this is my opinion. We are here to learn lessons and to help raise our own consciousness. Okay? That's the simple version of what I think is the meaning of life. Okay. And Fred says, meaning of life is something for you to figure out. Okay. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to keep an eye on the chat. And in the meantime, sorry, I've got my throat is all messed up this evening. Okay. So here are some weird stories that are going on in the world today. There was a power outage in New Jersey. It cut electricity to a New Jersey community a week ago that was due to an unlikely culprit, a fish that was apparently dropped by a bird and landed on a transformer. The police said Jersey Central Power and Light Company workers working on the August 12th outage that cut power to a large area of Lower Sayreville found a fish on the transformer in the New Jersey community southwest of New York's Staten Island. We're guessing a bird dropped it as it flew over, police said. In a later post, they had a bit of fun asking readers to remember the fish as the victim in the senseless death, dubbing him Gilligan and calling him a hardworking family man and a father to thousands. The suspect, they said, was last seen flying south, and readers were urged not to try to apprehend him because although he isn't believed to be armed, he may still be very dangerous. Jersey Central Power and Light Company spokesperson Chris Honig said, animals, usually squirrels, are a common cause of power outages, but fish are not on the list of frequent offenders. He said an osprey was probably to blame for the outage that affected about 2,100 Sayreville customers for less than 2 hours. Okay, that's strange. I don't think that's ever happened before. I just, never heard of anything like that. So I had to throw that in there. All right. In other strangeness, in Shirley, Massachusetts, a large ice chunk fell from the sky and hit a house in Massachusetts, damaging the roof of the home. Jeff Illig said his wife, Amelia Rainville, suspected the ice fell off an airplane traveling to Boston Logan International Airport. Neither the couple nor their 2 children were hurt when the ice chunk, which he said was initially estimated to be 15 to 20 pounds, hit the roof on Sunday night. Goodness, we heard an explosion, basically, the loudest pop bang I've ever heard. And then they heard debris rolling down the roof onto a lower roof, he said. Initially, it was thought the house was struck by lightning. The Federal Aviation Administration said it's investigating. The couple ran upstairs to check on their children, who were sound asleep despite the noise. They then ran around the house to see what happened, and then outside, where he saw a giant partial block of ice on the back step and debris scattered around the backyard and the roof. So they called police because they didn't know what it was, and he went to see if there was a hole in the roof, and sure enough, it was in there and it was big. The impact was about 18 inches to 2 feet in diameter, but the damage to the inside was bigger. So ice is nothing to sneeze at. As many of you know who have had problems with hail, we've had some really, really big hail in the Midwest in the past. And yeah, that would be bad, especially if it fell on your head. Okay, in Tucson, Arizona, this is a strange one. Like a scene out of a horror movie, Michelle Lesbron returned to her Tucson, Arizona home to find a snake had set up camp in her toilet. I'd been gone for 4 days and was looking forward to using my own restroom in peace. I lifted up the lid and he or she was curled up, she told the AP. Thank God the lid was closed. This hysterical encounter happened on July 15th, but Lesbron has been getting messages from family, friends, and even people she went to high school with since Rattlesnake Solutions, a Phoenix-based company that removed the snake, recently posted an employee's video. The 20-second video shows the snake being pulled out of the toilet bowl and then hissing straight at the camera. What a nightmare. Can you imagine? Some people thought it was a prank video, but they assure everybody that it was absolutely real. And the snake measured 3 feet long. Yikes. Okay, talk about nightmares. Okay, in Beijing, a zoo in eastern China is denying suggestions some of its bears might be people in costumes after photos of the animals standing like human circulated online. The sun bears from Malaysia are smaller than other bears and look different, but are the real thing. Some people think I stand like a person, says a posting they erected, written from the bear's point of view. It seems you don't understand me very well. Internet users questioned whether or not the zoo's bears were real after photos circulated showing one standing upright on slender legs. Because of the way they stand, some people online question whether they are humans in disguise. Sun bears are the size of large dogs, standing at most 50 inches tall on their hind legs, and compared with up to 9 feet for grizzlies and other species, according to the zoo. Other Chinese zoos have been accused of trying to pass off dogs dyed to look like wolves or African cats, and donkeys painted to look like zebras. Oh my goodness, only in China, I suppose. I've never heard of such a thing. That is absolutely crazy. Okay, folks, we are going to take a short break, and when I come back, I want to hear your weird stories, and I'm going to tell you more of what I have found.
It's almost here, ladies and gentlemen. The Unex Network Year 2 anniversary at XCon 2023. XCon is being held this year from October the 30th to November 1st at the beautiful Oasis Hotel and Conference Center in Springfield, Missouri. Top speakers include host of America Unearthed, Scott Walter, plus Haley Ramsey, Sev Tak, Unex's very own Maureen Richmond and Dan Terry, Mindy Toutfest, Harriet McFeely, Forrest Crawford, and many more. And they're all coming to deliver new information on topics like UFOs, alien encounters, cryptids and ancient secrets, and real hauntings from the afterlife. Join us for the film premiere of A Haunting in Blue Hill. And don't miss the Mad Hatter Paranormal Halloween Bash, Banquet, and Costume Contest on All Hallows Eve, October 31st. So join us as we close out the 2023 conference season. Info and tickets are available now at unexnetwork.com. That's unexnetwork.com, and we'll see you there.
Okay, folks, we're back. I'm Margie K, and this is Unex News. And tonight I want to hear about your strange experiences. So if you're in the chat right now, you must have at least one strange experience to share. So please put it in there, and we will show it, and I will read it. And we're talking about everything from Sasquatch or Mothman sightings or paranormal events, ghosts, ETs, UFO sightings, things like that. Okay? So anything that's unexplained, that's what we want to talk about. All righty. Okay. James, have there been any time irregularities caused by gravitational waves that have struck Earth? Okay. James, you're getting into some deep stuff here. Forget about that tonight. I just want to hear your weird story. And I know you have a lot, James, because I know you. All right. Here's a story from livescience.com. Researchers estimated that as few as 22 people would be needed to sustain a colony on Mars. But there are a lot of caveats, and the new study largely misses the point of colonizing the red planet in the first place, experts say. Only 22 people are needed to create a colony on Mars, an optimistic new study suggests. However, not everyone agrees, and some experts think that many more people would be needed to create a lasting human presence on the red planet. In the study, which was uploaded to the preprint database ARXIV on August 11 and has not been peer-reviewed, researchers used a computer program known as an agent-based model, or ABM, to simulate how well groups react to challenging scenarios based on their personality types. This sounds like a movie. The model looked at 4 personality types: agreeables, who are not very competitive or aggressive; socials, who are extroverted and do well in social settings; reactives, who struggle to deal with changes to routine; and neurotics, who are highly competitive and aggressive. The model then varied the number of each type when doing key tasks such as Martian mining and farming. The researchers found that if most people were agreeables or socials, just 22 people could sustain a colony. With more neurotics and reactives, larger groups were needed to succeed. Limiting the size of the first Martian colonies will be very important because the more people and equipment that are needed, the more expensive it will be. But Jean-Marc Salati, an astronautics researcher at the IMS, which is Integration from Material to Systems laboratory in Bordeaux, France, told Live Science Salati's research had previously found the minimum to be 110 people. For a colony, a simple dispute or conflict could lead to a disaster, Salati said, but the 4 personality types used in the study are oversimplified, he added. Buildings and sustaining an autonomous colony on Mars requires more people with a greater range of knowledge and skills to overcome the challenges they would face. So he stands by his minimum estimate of 110 for future missions. Okay, here's a question for everybody here that's in the chat right now. I want to know this. If you were trained and healthy enough to do it, would you volunteer to serve on the first colony on Mars? And let's say that you're not coming back. Okay, so I want to know yes or no. That's all you have to type in the chat. Would you do it? That's an interesting question because, now this is in the scope of something that's going to happen. We know that. I mean, we can tell NASA's been talking about it for a long time, and other private agencies have been discussing this, getting to Mars and starting a colony, but most likely those people would not be coming home. That would be their permanent home from now on. So as for me, it's a big no. I know what the Earth is like, and although it's not perfect, I can go outside and not worry about it. I can breathe. Okay, so here are our answers. Carl says if he was healthy, yes, he would go. Wow. Carl is very brave. Becky says no, just like me. And James says yes as well. Yes, he's a daredevil. All right, guys. The guys are the brave ones. But you're going to need some women there, too, because you're actually going to have to, procreate. So, okay. In Tampa, Florida, August 25th, a new bed and breakfast in Tampa Bay has opened its doors to the fans of the spooky, eerie, and paranormal just in time for the 2023 Halloween season. This is Phantom History House, owned and operated by Tim Hinton and Steve Blanchard. It's an upscale bed and breakfast experience that celebrates the world or the paranormal with a themed environment described as modern Victorian and eerie yet elegant. The Halloween season is packed with events that include a costume party, post-mortem photographs. Oh gosh, FAUX photographs. A masquerade ball and ghost stories and ghost tours and Halloween events begin September 22nd. Guests are invited to immerse themselves in paranormal themed world, from its Victorian library and candlelit dining room to 4 uniquely decorated and themed bedchambers for overnight guests. The 4 second-story themed bedchambers offer guests unique, upscale experiences with their own decor and vibe to complete a paranormal stay any time of year. So if you're into traveling and staying in very interesting places, I can imagine that this would be a good place to go. Okay, so they have the Ouija room. Hey, I know Dan Terry would like that one. The B&B's largest features a king-size bed, an in-suite Ouija board, and themed Ouija art throughout, including the private bathroom. Okay, the cemetery room. Ooh, it has a queen-size bed surrounded by a mural of a cemetery, allowing guests to rest in peace. And then the portrait room has a queen-size bed. It's surrounded by antique and modern portraits and paintings, while the private bathroom maintains a theme and features a large walk-in shower and antique vanity. And then finally, we have the castle room. That's considered the most romantic room and showcases a queen-size 4-poster bed covered in faux wolf fur and surrounded by battery-operated flameless candles. Oh, I don't know if that's romantic. But we have in the private bathroom a stone wall in the shower is partnered with a large photo of the Brown Lady, allegedly the very first apparition ever caught on film in the place. So that'd be interesting. So if you're interested in that, pricing ranges from $175 to $250 per night. And then they can add on evenings of ghost stories or book sessions with psychics and mediums. That sounds like fun. So they have events year-round, and just go to phantomhistoryhouse.com for more information about that one. Okay, back to the question earlier about Mars. So Fred says he can remote view Mars, as I do. And so there's no need to actually go there. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, we have got a story from Chris Rickard. Chris says, I lived in a house in the Santa Cruz Mountains, came home after a weekend away and found brown liquid dripping from the wood beams from one end of the house to the other. Can you remote view this event? Okay, Chris. Yeah, I can. Santa Cruz Mountains. Let me see. Let me just give me a second. Let me remote view that. It seems like it's something that's coming from above the beam, and I think it's on an upper floor. There was something coming from the attic. I think it's coming from the attic. So, Chris, let me know if you have an attic there. If I'm on the right page, I will. I'll dig deeper into that. But I'm not feeling too good about that one. Okay. Carol says in the Mars question, she would not be interested in going to Mars because Earth is so beautiful. And yes, indeed it is. And there's so much here on Earth to explore. Oh, look at the oceans. We haven't even looked at a tenth of the oceans and explored those. Of course, we know there's ET bases down there, right? If you listen to Debbie Ziegelmeyer, she will tell you. Okay, there's no attic and it felt bad. Yeah, Chris, I'm not feeling good about that either. Um, that kind of feels supernatural. So, let me think on that a little bit, and we'll come back to it. Okay, we are up for another short break, and when we come back, we'll get started on some more very interesting stuff coming up in the news section. Are you thinking about purchasing a wood-fired heating or cooking appliance but don't know where to start? The new book, Wood-Fired Heating and Cooking, will guide you through the process and make the decision much easier. Find out about wood stoves, wood-burning fireplace inserts, masonry heaters, cook stoves, brick ovens, and more. Learn about operation and maintenance, buying and storing wood, even how to make your own charcoal. A bonus section includes delicious recipes for cooking in a wood-burning oven, grill, tandoori oven, or smoker. The wise homeowner, prepper, or homesteader will have the ability to heat their home with wood when the power goes out or to save money on increasing gas bills. Wood-Fired Heating and Cooking is available at Amazon. Visit www.woodfiredpub.com for more information. That's woodfiredpub.com. And we're back. I'm Margie K with Unexplained News, and this evening it's kind of a free-for-all in the chat section if you have any questions you'd like to ask. But what we're looking for tonight is stories about weird events that you have experienced. We're going to share that on here, and I'm also telling you about unexplained news that is recent and some interesting things. So, okay, here we have from Fuzzy. I was telling the story to the group. Hang on just a minute. I think I got this out of order. Okay, let me get this in the right order here. Here we go. Was standing in front of the mirror putting on lipstick. I felt a grab of my cheek. I thought, oh, I must have backed up against the sink. I looked behind me and the sink was 3 feet away. Oh my goodness. Okay. I told the gentleman he was not a gentleman and should get out of the ladies' room. Okay. And I was telling the story to the group. One of the servers had heard me. Okay. I couldn't see that. And asked if I was the lady that this happened to before. I told him no, but evidently the gentleman did that before. Okay, so we're talking, this is a ghost story of somebody who actually physically touched a person. Oh, thank you for telling us that, Fuzzy. That's interesting. That reminds me, okay, that was in the ladies' restroom. That reminds me of the time I went to the ladies' restroom in the Union Station in Kansas City, which is very, very old and used to be an extremely busy place. Where people would train travel a lot, and all of those benches are still there, and the ladies' restrooms are still there with original stuff. And so I went in there. There was not a soul there, and I was looking for ghosts, and I got lucky. Saw 2 of them. So I'm in the restroom, washing my hands, and I hear someone walk in with high heels and click clack across the tile floor and close a bathroom door and go into one of the stalls. The only thing is, there was nobody there. I heard that very, very clearly, and there was not a person there. So I went outside, and as I was opening the door to leave, I heard the sink come on and heard the water. So I turned around and looked, and not one of those sinks was on, but I could actually hear that happening. So that happened. And then when I left and went outside there was a big area where all of the benches are for people to wait. I walked up to the very back of it and then turned around to look and take a picture of that area. And I saw a man in an old-fashioned hat and a coat sitting in one of those places, and there was absolutely nobody there. And I'm standing there trying to look and see and figure out if somebody snuck in there when I wasn't looking, or what, and then he just kind of faded out very, very slowly. So, and that's a haunted place. That Union Station's got a lot more going on. Okay, and we've got from Bex, who says, that's freaky, Fuzzy. I saw the Hat Man standing in the doorway when I was pregnant. He came to the other side of the bed and jumped into my partner's body. I screamed the house down. Oh, I'll bet you did. I'll bet you did. Wow. Hat Man is nothing to mess with. Absolutely nothing to mess with. I can tell you a quick story about my daughter who had a run-in with the Hat Man about 12 years ago. She was sitting on the edge of her bed talking to somebody on the phone when all of a sudden this like scarf went around her neck and yanked her across the bed. And as she looked up and behind her, she saw a shadow person with a hat on and a frock coat. And then the scarf actually went through her neck. She could physically feel it go through and watched him disappear. Now, this happened to my own daughter. And that's not the only run-in that they had with the Hat Man. He is not anything to mess with. So definitely never, never, never call in the Hat Man. You want to just ignore that guy and put white light around you for protection. Keep him at bay. Okay, we've got a story from B. I was 5 years old and saw a spaceship when I came out of my house, and I received paperwork now explaining what the events. Okay, so you'll have to finish that statement. 5 years old, and you remember that? Wow. That's great. Well, something big like a UFO sighting, you're definitely going to remember now, no matter how old you are. Okay. Ghosts aren't real. Okay. You think that because you haven't experienced one. Okay? So a lot of other people have experienced them. I have. I've seen them materialize, dematerialize, appear as a wispy smoke, sometimes appear as a ball of light, and then might be a face in the ball of light. Yeah, ghosts are real. I mean, I know for myself, I know that. But just wait for a time when you can experience it. And if you haven't had that experience, go somewhere where you might, like some of these haunted tours. There's a lot of weird ones at asylums and prisons, if you want to get really heavy, because those are usually very dark. Might not be something you want to mess with. But a lot of these other haunted homes that are open, and Airbnbs that are haunted, things like that, then you might see one. Okay. Now we have another one from Fuzzy. My husband and I stayed at my sister's apartment. She asked if we liked her apartment. We said no, we did not. We said not bad, but neighbors upstairs woke us up at 3 a.m. Their dog trotted all over the floor. However, the upstairs was empty. Okay, looks like you've had a lot of experiences, Fuzzy. Now we've got one from Carl. He says in Weston, Missouri. Weston, by the way, is very haunted. I've investigated there many times. A water hole on Bluff Road was a resting spot for horses and overheating cars. A baby died there, and reportedly a baby cries at midnight. We heard a baby cry, or maybe a bird, hopefully a ghost, at that spot. Wow, I did not know that. Oh, I'm glad you told me. We're going to have to check that out in person. Okay, Fuzzy says I have more, but we can only type 200 letters at a time. Okay. Okay. Here we have one from Fred. I had a dream where I saw these 5 robed beings waving towards my right. I looked and saw this petite woman with short blonde hair. The being said, "This is the one I could get down on my knees for." Okay, I've got to hear the rest of this. Then I saw that okay, we're going to wait for Fred to finish that because I got to hear the end of that one. Okay, in the meantime, let's get back to, this is good. You can sleep in a UFO in the middle of Joshua Tree National Park. The Area 55 Futuro House is a 520 square foot red ellipsoid located in the middle of California's Joshua Tree National Park. I've been there. It's very nice. I haven't seen the UFO, though. Though it's not the only one of its kind, it's the only one in the U.S. that you could rent for a few nights' stay. According to Thrillist, Futuro houses were conceived and constructed by a Finnish architect named Matt Suron in 1968, when the world was captivated by the space race and futuristic architecture was all the rage. He originally intended this innovation to function as a skier's hut that could easily sit on a mountain and avoid snow pileup on its round roof. Oh, that's clever. While one house in Donbay, Russia is occupied by visiting skiers to this day, the other 80 or so are scattered in random locations and used for random purposes or for no purpose at all. Before Area 55 became a rentable desert college, it belonged to Hugh Hefner, who installed it at the original Playboy Club Hotel in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, back in 1968. The pod passed through several other owners and eventually landed in the hands of music producer Ronald Jackson, who converted it to a glamper's dream home and opened it for business in October 2019. It's a cool looking place. I could not grab the photos. All the photos on the internet now, you just can't get them. So anyway, here's another home on Airbnb. Okay, then let me go back around. Let me go back here to Fred because we have to get the explanation of this one. Okay. Then my girlfriend at the time, her face overlaid the petite gal. I then found out that the petite gal was our past life together, and then we did get married. Oh, wow. Interesting, Fred. That's very interesting. So you were shown your future wife. Interesting as heck. Yeah, I like these stories. Keep them coming, guys. Okay, we've got a few more minutes. Okay, other homes on Airbnb. How would you like to stay in a missile base in a bunker in Roswell, New Mexico? It's got the underground launch control center as your private apartment and a utility tunnel that leads to the missile silo nearly 186 feet deep, with much of its original floors still intact. Learn what it took to operate one of these amazing sites. The major construction refurbishment areas have been renovated into an unbelievable underground home and office. Prepare for one of the most awesome tours included with the cost of your stay. Now, here is about the space. Experience an unparalleled stay at our unique missile-based bunker property, complete with underground launch control center and utility tunnel. Immerse yourself in the history of these remarkable sites and discover what it took to operate them. The major construction areas have been transformed into an incredible underground home and office, offering a one-of-a-kind experience. Your stay includes an amazing tour, providing insight to the fascinating history of the property. Your private apartment is located in the former upper level of the Launch Control Center, complete with numerous books and displays showcasing the early days of our missile heritage. Relax in the comfort of a complete living suite while the owners reside in the lower level of the former Launch Control Center. Stay connected with underground cellular service and Wi-Fi available for your convenience. Only $515 per night for 2 guests. Yeah, that would be fun. A little pricey, but, probably only going to do that one time, right? It sounds very interesting. I'd like to check that out further. Okay, so here we've got some more stories. Here from James. I spent 2 years, while doing surgeries in the parlor of the Warnell home, I had, what? Finish that, James. Okay. 3rd Iowa Infantry, MEN, came in several times to watch the surgery. Okay, so here's a ghost of a person who came in to watch surgeries. A Wernal House. Oh my gosh. If you're ever in Kansas City, check out the Wernal House because it is so haunted that everyone who goes there has an experience. There are several ghosts that are there. Mrs. Wernal, I've seen her on a number of occasions on the stairs, and she also stares out the window. It's a tragic, sad, long story, but it's a good place to go if you want to see spirits. Okay, Fuzzy says Cabin 9 and Cabin 10A at Merrimack State Park are busy. Merrimack is known for paranormal activity, by the way. She says, we love Cabin 9. Once sitting by a campfire, they asked a group where the barbecue grill was, and from a huge split tree, the grill flew out across the campfire. Oh, wow. That's kind of unusual. You wouldn't be expecting something like that, especially outside. Normally you hear about poltergeists moving things around inside a house. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. But the Merrimack, oh my goodness. Ever since I began investigating a UFO sighting there and some other strange things that are unexplained, like balls of light underneath the water that are right off the Merrimack, I've started doing the research and collecting some accounts from people, and it's known as a very haunted river. The Merrimack River is. And there are buildings that are right off of the river that are old hotels and houses that are haunted and have been for many, over 200 years. We're talking about of history of the Merrimack. So if you want to get weirded out, go there. Okay. Now, we had the bunker. Now, here's another weird place to stay if you're into travel. How'd you like to stay in a grain bin on Old Route 66 in Phillipsburg, Missouri? It's a spacious, rustic, and authentic grain bin. Attention has been paid to detail to make it authentic but very livable. It would be perfect for families, couples, or fishermen visiting Bennett Springs. It's located on Old Route 66, where the Midway Cafe and Motel once was. The Midway was a stopping point for 66 travelers, and it's been rumored that Bonnie and Clyde stayed the night there. It's 45 miles to Fort Leonard Wood and 35 minutes to Springfield. The price, a whopping $85 per night for up to 4 guests. Wow. That sounds like a deal. Okay. Now we have a Bigfoot sighting in West Virginia. A bloke thinks he might have snapped a photograph of Bigfoot after some strange events in the woods. Samuel Polischuk shared his images to the Bigfoot Believers Facebook group, explaining they were taken on top of a cliff in Tucker County, West Virginia. Not sure if this is what I thought it was, he says. Samuel explained that his pet dog was acting very strange and that there was a weird skunk-like smell in the air before he spotted what he suspects could be a Sasquatch. Okay, that's typical. Animals act strange, go on point, get very silent, or act scared, and then you have that skunk-like smell. Yeah, I would suspect Sasquatch as well. Zach Hall, a producer on the TV show Expedition Bigfoot, described it as like a moist, wet dog, but mixed with a gamey smell everyone talks about. Samuel's images show a dark brown and black shape peering over a rocky outcrop on top of a mound. Explaining more about his encounter, he said in the comments, "My girlfriend was freaked out and wanted to get out of there. I'm not a Bigfoot hunter. I was walking through the woods in West Virginia, south of Blackwater Falls. It freaked us all out, and we got out of the area. And some people were convinced he had stumbled across the elusive beast. One comment said, 'I see it. Wow.' Another said, 'Yep, that's Bigfoot.' While a third said it looks like a profile of a face on the left side." And I saw the picture too. So you might want to check it out. Go to Bigfoot Believers on Facebook, and you'll see the picture and see what you think as well. Okay, let's go back to the comments. Oh my goodness, Fred has a story. One early morning, I got up from my bed to go to the bathroom. I sat down on the toilet only then to be pulled up through the ceiling by my legs. I lost consciousness only to find myself back in bed. Fred, do you think that you were taken by ET at that moment in time, which was probably not a very convenient moment? They usually wait until you're asleep. But yeah, let me know, yes or no, because I'm seeing a craft and a beam of light going down through the house. Well, let me know what your thoughts are on that one. Fred has had a lot of things happen to him, by the way. I know him very well. Okay. He says yes, an abduction. No kidding. Do you remember anything about that? I'd like to know if you do remember anything about that particular incident. Okay. Here's another story. Naked wolf man spotted by ruined castle in German mountains is holding a wooden spear. Two hikers managed to take a picture of a naked wolf man who is thought to have been living in the isolated woods around the Harz Mountains in Germany for the last 5 years. A naked wolf man who is believed, here we go. According to BILD, two hikers saw the mysterious person roaming the woods and sitting at the foot of a ruined castle holding a spear. Gina Weiss and her pal Toby managed to snap a blurry image on a mobile phone. It shows the man completely nude, covered in dirt, and playing in some sand. The hikers were in Blackenberg in the state of Saxony-Anhalt on Tuesday evening, August 22nd, when they spotted him. The encounter lasted for about 10 minutes. Gina told BILD, when we reached the sand caves, we saw the wolf man. He stood up high on one of the caves and held a long wooden stick like a lance in his arm. He wouldn't take his eyes off us, said nothing. He looked dirty, like a Stone Age man from a history book. There have been intermittent sightings of the man, believed to be in his 40s, over the past few years. Local authorities have reportedly found evidence of fires and rudimentary dwellings in the woods, and there have been other sightings by people who call him the Wolf Man. Okay, very odd. Now, in other high strangeness, Billy Campbell, the son of an Australian television personality, David Campbell, apparently started claiming he was Princess Diana when he was 2.5. He could recall some of her memories. A young lad shocked his father after claiming he was Princess Diana reincarnated. Australian television personality David Campbell previously opened up about his son Billy's bizarre assertion. Writing in Stellar magazine in 2019, David said Billy started professing to be Lady Di when he was 2 years old. He apparently remained convinced of it for a further 2 years. His dad described the article as the weirdest thing he had ever written, explaining it all began when someone gave his wife, Lisa, a card with Diana on it. 2-year-old Billy pointed at the image and gave an eerie 8-word response. Look, it's me when I was a princess. Even weirder still, Billy was seemingly aware of Prince William and Prince Harry too. David wrote that his son started to talk about his 2 boys, and he said when asked what boys, our then 3-year-old would say his sons. Okay, strange but sure. And that wasn't the end of it. David said his son told a Scottish friend of theirs that he was Diana and explained he used to go to a castle that kilted Wonderland. And then he said that the castle had unicorns on it and said it was called Balmoral. David wrote, the unicorn is the national animal of Scotland, and there are unicorns on the walls. How does the child know this? The most spooky moment came when Billy referred to Diana's death in Paris in 1997. After being shown another picture, he apparently said that one day the sirens came and I wasn't a princess anymore. David asks, here is a child with no knowledge whatsoever of the monarchy. How could he? Concluding in the column, he said, will Billy grow up and never remember this? Could he actually be the reincarnated essence of the people's princess? Since the 2019 declaration, it appears the boy hasn't said anything else about the reincarnation. Yeah, that is a case for reincarnation indeed, because a 2-year-old does not have knowledge of things like that. Absolutely. Very strange. It reminds me of several other odd reincarnation stories in the past. Okay. And Fred finally sums his story up with, that's all I remember of the situation. But as I went up, I grabbed the toilet ring and held myself there for some time. I was upside down, seeing my legs through the ceiling. I eventually let go. Wow. Fred, you have got to write that down. You need to write a book, buddy. I'm telling you, you have so many stories. You need to write a book. Yeah. Okay. So let me ask the question, since we're talking about reincarnation here at the moment. For everybody in chat, do you believe in reincarnation or do you not? And if you do, what is your reasoning for that? Have you had an experience personally, either with yourself or anybody that you know that claims to have been reincarnated, or have you been regressed and seen some of your past lives like I have? I was regressed, 25 years ago by a really good hypnotist. And she regressed me back through several of my past lives. One in particular, I remember, was from the mid 1800s. And I was a school teacher, about 20 years old. And I was at the school outside with children that were there at the school. And there was some kind of big piece of like combine equipment, and it had some metal tines that came down from it. And for some reason, my fiance was there too. And maybe he had something to do with that piece of equipment being there. But I'm wearing a long dress, and all of a sudden that equipment fell on top of me and killed me. And so I remember coming out of my body and not being afraid and not having any pain and really not worried at all that I had just crossed over. And then during this regression period, the hypnotist took me forward through a couple of more lifetimes. And then one was in the early 1920s. I was a young man. I would say maybe about 18, 19 years old. And my mother was a laundress, and she took in laundry, and she was ironing. She would iron the clothes. This is back in the day before permanent press, right? So everything got ironed. And she was a single mother, which is not proper back then. And then my father came to visit during this session that I'm going through. My memory is me being there. My father was mafia, and I wanted to be with him, and I wanted to hang out with these guys and do what they did. Well, eventually he caved, and he let me go into business with them, quote. And so then I was killed shortly after by gunshot. And I same thing happened at that death. I didn't feel any pain, and I wasn't worried about it. I wasn't afraid of anything. I just left my body and went on. So do I believe in reincarnation? Yes, absolutely. Okay. Very quickly, we've got a couple of things I'm going to show you. Okay, so James says, while birding at James A. Reed it's Lee's Summit, I observed a Bigfoot at one of the lakes for several minutes. I observed it throwing fish to the shore. Yes, James, I know about that sighting. That is a fantastic sighting. I've even been out to James A. Reed since you told me that story a few years ago. And several times I've gone out, and I didn't have any luck. I just did not have any luck. But hopefully it'll happen sometime soon. goodness gracious, guys, our time is up and you've got some more stories. But thank you for sharing. Send me your stories by email if you want me to read them on the air. We're going to be doing more news segments like this in the future, although they'll probably be at the top of the hour for the first few minutes. And if you've got a story to share, send it to me at kunxradio@gmail.com. And so we're going to sign off for this evening. And I appreciate you joining me. See you next time.